Hello everyone, this is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to this video lesson. We are going to continue to work with math functions. And so let me go ahead and create a new project. Whoops, there we go. New project. And this is going to be a C# program, specifically Windows Forms application. And over here, I'm going to type in C#. And let me see here, hyphen math functions 3. And what I'd like to do is to determine or create an elliptical calculator, right, or an ellipse calculator, where I can determine the circumference and also the area. That's pretty good, right? The area is pretty simple. Pi AB, A is referred to as the minor axis length, and B is referred to as the major axis length. And so again, we want to take this picture, I want to share it with the user on the form, say for example, and then this is going to be the tough, not so tough, but more involved, say for example, the equation for the circumference of an ellipse. But let's stick with the area first because that's the easier one. Okay, well the first thing I'm going to do is to go back over here to my C# program, and let's go ahead and design some stuff. First, let me open up the form, toolbox, let me go ahead and pin that down. Same thing with the properties panel. I'm going to drag and drop a button, a label, and also a text box. Okay, let me move the label into place right there. And I'm going to go ahead and change the font property to 12 points. That's better. Let me go ahead and change the text property by double clicking on that. We'll say semi major axis length, colon. And I'm going to place a text box next to that. But first, let me go ahead and change the text size or the font size property to 12 points. And then I'll insert this right in the right position right there. There we go. We have a magenta underline. We have that little blue guideline to the left. I'll open this up just a little bit to allow the user to enter a number into here. I'm going to select these two. Notice that I'm just simply holding my mouse button down, selecting these two, letting go. Control C, Control V as in Victor. Let me go ahead and put this back into position here. Unselect, reselect this, and let me go down to the text property, and instead of the word major, I'm going to change this to the word minor. So get rid of that. Minor axis length. That looks good. Actually, check this out. I can see, well, first of all, I misspelled the word. So let me go over here and say minor. Minor. All right. So that looks pretty good right there. I'm going to leave it like that. Let me go ahead and place my button into position somewhere over here. Let's say it's going to go all the way to the left and all the way to the right. That looks pretty good. Let me move this into position. It looks like it clicks right here into position, and make it like that. But that font is way too small, so let me open up the font size property and make that 12 points. And we're going to change the text property to calculate. We'll say calculate. Looks good. Let me go ahead and place a label over here for area and another label for circumference. So I'll just take this label right here, copy and paste it. Could I have dragged a label? Sure. Yeah, any of those approaches is fine. Since the word circumference is larger than the word area, let me first deal with circumference. And what I'll do is I'll move it somewhere over here. I need to place another label over here that's identical in size to this guy. So I think what I'll do is I'll just take this guy over here, copy and paste it. Let me make sure that the auto size feature is false. That way I can resize this thing. Border style, fixed single is fine. Remember, source destination. So source will be this guy. Hold down shift, select this guy, destination. We want those to be the same size. So that's this button right here, make same size. All right, let me unselect, reselect, and put this into position. And let's say something like this is fine. Notice that it's aligned with the text boxes above. Then I can take this label and bring it in just like that. That looks pretty good. Obviously, that text is supposed to be blank, or the text property is supposed to be blank at first. So I'll just go ahead and get rid of the text. Now I can take these two, select them, Control C, Control V as in Victor. Move them into place like that. And let's see, I'll change this over here to the word area. Okay, so I don't like that. It's too far away. Let's bring this in, and I'm looking for that magenta underline. That looks good right there. Let go. I don't think that that's right. Here, let's see here. Did I position this correctly? Okay, I guess I did. Maybe see what I'm doing is I'm paying attention to, oh gosh, I just did something terrible. I double clicked on the label. Well, you know what? Maybe this is a good thing that I made this mistake, because I've talked about this in earlier videos. You don't want to double click on something inappropriately. And you know what? I talk quickly, I click quickly, and look at what happened. All right. So obviously I didn't mean to start a click event for a label. Let me double click. I don't mean to do this. I didn't even name anything yet. So if this mistake happens, here's what you have to do. It's kind of an involved process. Not a difficult one, but there's just a couple of things you got to go through. All right. First of all, I need to get rid of the function responsible for the click event for this label. So I start from private all the way to the curly braces for this. Don't accidentally do this. I've had students do this before. Oh, that's a catastrophe. That curly braces belongs to this one over here. Don't do something like this. This curly braces belongs to this. So you want the open and close curly braces that belong to this particular click event for the thing that you accidentally double clicked on. And let me press delete to get rid of it. So then you think, okay, let's go back over here to the design panel, and of course you get this error. Just click on the instance of this error and it'll take you to the location. And so what it's saying is that this label that you've clicked over here, this label 13, it's not valid. So let me change the zoom here so I can see everything here. Let me select from label 13 all the way up to this, just before label 14. This is the code that I need to get rid of. See, this was the code to place the label at a certain location, to give it a certain font size, and to make it auto size, and what the tab index and all this other stuff. Well, it's got to go away because I need to get rid of that label. So I'm going to press delete. And then if I go back over here to design, now I see that this label is gone. Actually, I think it's up here. Let's see if I click it. Look at that. See, it's a label. Let me go ahead and move this out of this position right here. That's what happens, right? I don't know. Visual Studio puts it up there when you go through this particular procedure. So what I want to do is I want to change that to area. So let me type in area. And of course that font is too small. And I got to double click, type in 12. I want this to be the same size as this. So source destination. Okay, source, shift, destination. And let's make it the same size. Okay, that looks good. And let me go ahead and change this. Actually, you know what? I don't think this label is supposed to be auto size. False. I think it's supposed to be auto size true. Let's change that to true. Ah, there we go. It automatically sizes it. Now I can move this into position. Now if I could just speak a little slower and move a little bit slower, I wouldn't get myself into these problems. And it happens all the time. But it's probably a good thing that I shared with you how to get out of a situation like that. And when you accidentally double click something, that's what you're going to have to go through. Okay, so now I can reduce the height of this form, but let me place an image of an ellipse over here so that I can specifically help the user to understand that the A is the minor axis and the B is the major axis, say for example. Okay, so I think what I should do is to place a picture box in this area over here, because that's what I intend on doing, inserting a picture. And it's going to be right around over here, and I know the height. I may not necessarily know the width, but let's see what happens. Let me go back over here, and I love this image right here. We got to grab that. So let's say that you want this, and you try to save it to your computer, and it doesn't work because it's attached to other things. One of the tools that you can use is called the snipping tool. I love this guy right here. The snipping tool allows you to take a picture of a particular part of your screen. So new, I want a rectangular snip. All right, so let's say that I'm trying to make sure that I get this edge and this top edge over here. So it looks like that's about right. And yep, sure enough. And let me see something like this. Let go. There we go. There's my image. I love it. So I'm going to say File, Save As, and I like the PNG format. That's cool. And it's going to save it to the pictures. That's fine. And let me go ahead and just type in ellipse. Ellipse. And I already have an ellipse there, so I'll call this ellipse 1. I think when I was practicing for this video lesson here, I already created an ellipse, but that's okay. I'll just create ellipse 1. I don't need the snipping tool anymore. Let me close that. Let me switch back over here to Visual Studio. And let's place ellipse 1 into here. Well, that means going over here to Image, clicking the ellipsis, kind of funny, no pun intended, local resource input, and let's go to my pictures section, and sure enough, there's ellipse 1. So I'll double click this guy, and there it is. Let me click OK, and there it goes. Obviously, it's not sized correctly, or the mode isn't correct, because right now we have size mode normal. That doesn't look good. And last time you saw I had all these different options. I think I like the zoom the best, because no matter how you size this, it's automatically going to change. And so, I don't know, let's say something like this is fine. Well, once that picture box is established, I can go ahead and reestablish the form. I don't like minimize and maximize box, so I'll make both of those false, as you can see over here. That says form 1. I want that to say ellipse calculator. So with the form selected, let's go to the text property, double click, and we'll say ellipse calculator. I don't need this error list anymore, so I'm going to click on this. Okay, looks good. Let me save my work. Let's go ahead and give names to the various items. So over here, I'm going to go back to the name property, which is at the top, txt, and we'll say major axis. This will be txt minor axis. This obviously is going to be btn calculate. See how I'm giving meaningful names? That's what you want to do. I have some students that do this. btnx. What the heck is that? I have no idea what that is. btna. I have no idea what that is. Be descriptive. btn calculate. All right. And then over here, obviously, we're going to want to establish the label for area and circumference. So that's going to be LBL, area. And this is going to be LBL, circumference. And that's it. I don't have to give a name to this picture box, even though it already has one. If I did want to name this, it would be PCT something. That's the Hungarian notation for picture box. Okay. So I think everything's done. Let me go ahead and save all. I don't need my text box. Let me just double click here. Not double click, rather. Check, double check my names. And that says txt major axis, txt minor axis, btn calculate, LBL area, and then finally LBL circumference. We are done. Let me go ahead and save all. I don't need the properties panel anymore. And now let me go ahead and double click calculate so that I can enter the code for this section. Well, I like to do the following. First of all, let me zoom in here a little bit better so you guys can see what's going on. And let's say we have declarations, get user input, calculation or calculations, and output. Okay. In the declaration section, ask yourself, what is it that the user needs to give to you, and what do you need to give back to the user? Well, in this case, the user needs to give me the major and minor axis length, the A and B side, or A and B values, I should say. And then I'm going to give back the area and the circumference. So let's create variables for those items. And so we'll say double major axis length. We'll say double minor axis length, double area, and double circumference. All right, so I have all of the variables that I need for my program. Let's go ahead and get the user input. I need to get these two values right here from the text boxes. So we'll say major, and I don't even have to type anymore. Look at that. Microsoft's IntelliSense comes up automatically. I can just simply press tab, and we're going to assign that to something. Well, first of all, we're going to convert dot to a double, whatever is inside of txt perfect. Look at that. It comes up with two options. I want this one right here, so I'll just simply hit tab, dot te. Yep, text comes up. Let me go ahead and tab and then press semicolon at the very end. Let's do the same thing for the minor axis. So minor axis length, convert dot to double, whatever is inside of the text box minor axis. Again, don't forget that it's the text property that we want. And so once I've obtained those, then I can perform my calculation. Now this is where this website, I just did a quick Google search for ellipse circumference formula and I came up with this. Let's solve for area first. That'll be easier. That's going to be pi times a times b. Okay, so that means that the area is going to be math.pi. So that's how I'm able to obtain that pi, that value for pi, times major axis times minor axis length. Perfect. That's it. That was easy. Now comes the more involved one, which is for circumference. I'm going to be going back and forth several times. It looks like it's pi, and it looks like I see a starting parens and an ending parens. So it's pi times all of this. Within that parens, it looks like I have a plus b quantity times 3 minus the square root of all this stuff, which is basically these two parens right here. So I'm going to use math.sqrt for this. I'm going to use math pi for this. So we'll start over here working our way left to right. So first of all, I need math times pi, or math pi, I should say. So let me switch over. And the circumference is going to be math.pi times, okay, let's see here. It's going to be times all of this. I see a parens right here, so I think I'll do the same thing. I'll just put an open and close parens, put a semicolon, put my cursor back into that parens, and it looks like it's going to be 3 times a plus b. All right, so 3 times, open and close parentheses, a plus b, which is major plus minor. All right, that takes care of this 3 times a plus b, so 3 times a plus, oops, I put multiplication. You probably are thinking, hey, you made a mistake. Well, I just caught it, thankfully. Thank you for your help. I could hear it, I could feel it, that you guys were saying, oh, that's supposed to be plus. All right, so I add those two, and this is supposed to be minus. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to place a parens right here, and I'm going to place a parens right here. So this whole thing is supposed to be minus, and then I have the square root of this. So let me go ahead and type in, whoops, sorry, picture of my son and his baseball team, math.sqrt, open and close parens. Let me put my cursor right back into there. What am I trying to obtain the square root of? This times this. So let me put an open parens, close parens. It's the square root of, to open and close parens, let me put my cursor back into here, 3a plus b, a being the minor axis. Okay, so 3 times, or 3.0 rather, times the minor axis, so minor, and what? Plus b. Okay, so 3a plus the major axis, b. That is supposed to be multiplied times, okay, so let me put my cursor right there. That's supposed to be multiplied times, let me go ahead and put open and close parentheses, place my cursor back into there, a plus 3b. So a being the minor axis. So the minor axis plus, okay, plus, and then 3 times b. So 3.0 times the major axis, right? Isn't that what b is? Yeah, b is the major axis. Okay. So that takes care of that. It's going to be the square root of this whole thing. So I think I've got everything covered, and then this whole thing is going to be multiplied times pi. So not too bad. As long as you take care of things step by step, I think you'll be okay. All right, so once I'm finished with that, I need to populate the area label and also the circumference label. So that means LBL. Here's area. Double click, dot text, and I'm going to put the area into here. I'm going to use this dot toString approach that I shared with you last time. Give me just 2 digits after the decimal point. That's fine. That's what the F2 means, fixed number of digits, specifically 2 digits after the decimal point. LBL circumference dot text. again, we're going to use this approach. We'll take the circumference dot toString, and again, I just want 2 numbers after the decimal point. That's fine. Let me go ahead and click Save All. Let's run the program and see what happens. So everything looks pretty good right here. Let's see here. What if I type in a major axis of 4 and a minor axis of 2? What does that give me? Okay, it gives me this. Let's see if this works. So I'm going to go back over here and type in for the circumference. Let's see here. A was supposed to be 2, and this is supposed to be 4. Looks like it's going to be 19.38 if I round that up. Is that what I got? 19.38. Sweet. It worked. How about the area? Let's go back over here and switch to area. And again, the minor is A, the major axis is 4. It says 25.13 and 25.13. Oh, sweet. I couldn't have gotten any better than that. So our program works. And this is pretty nice. And then what I can do is go back over here, save my project. I think we're done. So this is a really great example, a good example of how you could take something that looks really complex, like this circumference formula, and use math functions like mathpy, math.sqrt, and just break things down step by step. You saw how I like to use parens to kind of encapsulate this times this, or this divided by this. I like to do that because then everything is in order. You saw how I opened and closed my parentheses immediately, put the cursor back in, type in values. If you do those things step by step, it doesn't matter how difficult the equations are that you receive. I remember one time I was working at Hughes, and I needed to get the equation for the propagation of a laser through smog, through smoke, while it was raining. It was some complicated equation. I didn't know how to use it. Some physicist gave me the equation. But I didn't have to understand the equation, how it worked. I just knew how to take that equation and put it into any particular computer science language and just take things step by step. So you should be able to do that step by step. This is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.